some advice I was given very early on in my previous business. It was something very easy for me, but not for a lot of founders, is always hire people better than yourself. As I say, for me that's simple. But for a lot of people, I see a lot of founders today that actually are very scared and threatened by that, but we don't know everything. To hire people that are better than yourself in particular areas is absolutely crucial. So that's something that we always set out to do at Streetcar and at Love Space as well. And just to go to Lara's point on reward them how they want to be rewarded, again, really interesting. We sort of came up with a share options at Streetcar, and put them in place and told everyone about it. And some people, it meant a lot to them, and they wanted that piece of the business. But actually, there were some people that didn't get share options at all. I had a conversation with one of the people that was working for me, and they said, "Oh, I've got shares in my dad's business." I said, "Oh, right. So what sort of amount? I've only got 2. I said, "Well, how many shares are there in the business?" Oh, no idea. I came back the next day and there were 4 shares in the business. I said, well, you actually own quite a lot of your dad's business. But actually, for someone like that, if we just on a spa weekend away, literally, that would have meant more to her than the share options. So making sure it's not one size fits all, different things for different people is really important.
So when I founded my first business, Trusted Reviews, and my second BitTech, making sure that employment agreements and shareholder agreements, etc., making sure they were robust, because so many times I've seen people who've started a business, made various agreements, and then they get down the line, and then suddenly they're all arguing with each other. You said this, no, you didn't, etc. And I think when you start a business, when you make agreements with others, it's really important that you get those correct. And of course, during the journey, there's various needs. But the other one for me is, I was fortunate to sell both of my companies, one to Time Warner and the other one to Dennis Publishing. And I actually found at the exit point, having good lawyers to be really important. And I must admit, I didn't realise until after the process, how good they were at supporting me, because I didn't have experience of exit, whereas the lawyers did. And they knew what people would try on and what was reasonable and what was not, and so on and so on. And it made a big difference to me on exit, that I can say. So it's important, very important.
Did any of you see at Chinese New Year there was an event where an organisation would have put out a thing in China on WeChat that said if you shook your phone you could get a red packet. And I looked, did you see that? So 800 million people at 10:34 p.m. on the Lunar New Year were shaking their phone in China. In one particular minute, 800 million people through WeChat had got the shake and got their red packet. And in that 1 minute, 100 million money was transferred as a gift from one person to another in a red packet in digital. Another campaign that I saw recently, which I thought was really engaging, is Hellman's mayonnaise. So take a picture of your fridge. We've got all these chefs, and they're going to send back a recipe for you with directions, and guess what it includes? And so I think this video, and the way my children communicate in pictures, in momentary pictures, it's no longer, apparently a goldfish has the attention span of 8 seconds and a human being has 7. And I'm like 3, so, and the way I see my kids engage with each other in this pictorial methodology of stuff, but they still want to buy the authenticity of, say, a Puma sweatshirt that they can design online and buy. I think that there's an immense amount in digital around how we can engage through an original experience, because today people want to buy that story that they tell their friends about how they designed X or how they created Y. And I think that's the way digital is going to really consume us in the next few years.
Filling in the remaining bits of the planet that don't have either computational infrastructure or communications infrastructure is going to be it's just going to be a massive game changer for everyone, that we're still at the point where roughly half the planet have these things and roughly half the planet don't. Once everyone has these things, and you can go anywhere and assume that you'll have access to compute and access to the ability to communicate with compute anywhere else. I think it's going to be an enabler for, it takes an enormous amount of friction out of the world. There's still a lot, even here there's still a lot of friction, but there are places in the world which have pretty much pre-industrial amounts of friction. Taking that friction out is going to enable, it's going to enable new kinds of business that we can barely even think about at the moment, and it's going to happen very, very soon now. It's going to happen in the next 20 years.